welcome to Gaming the System, the feminist gaming podcast, where three intersectional feminists look at gaming through a feminist lens. And we are Alex, Jem and Matt, and today we're going to be talking about awards. Do they matter? And this is a kind of reaction to our recent nomination in the Independent Podcast Awards and our subsequent not winning the category that we were nominated in. But hopefully this will be a light-hearted reflection on awards and like within the gaming industry generally, or just generally outside of the gaming industry, whether they matter. How do we feel about not winning? Well, we've already kind of talked about that in the previous podcast, so if you missed it, go and have a listen. And then I guess maybe just thinking about what we want the podcast to be in the future, if anything at all, what we might want to do in terms of, because we know that we're not like, we mentioned it in the last pod, there's probably areas where we could be doing things differently or doing things with a better quality or that sort of thing. But a lot of these things do depend on things like having funding available and all that sort of stuff. So I guess it's just that kind of discussion around that sort of topic. So I guess I'll kick off by asking, do awards matter? Which is a very broad question, but I think we have discussed this previously in various episodes on awards, the most recent being the Video Game Music Awards, or at least them developing their own category within music awards, because it was only recently recognised as a category of its own right. So again, go and check out that episode if you're interested. But Matt, do you have any initial thoughts on how you feel about awards and whether they matter? Has your opinion changed since that episode and our recent experiences?
So I think my original position was that no awards matter because they are a beacon of an establishment institution. For example, the Emmys, the Grammys, the Oscars. They are all voted on by dusty old white men choosing other white men. And that's the way it's been for most of history. But then thinking that awards can matter for independent, small podcasts, for example. So when a video game music award is added to, was it the Grammys?
I think it was the Grammys, yeah.
Yeah. So that when it's just wealthy, massive people giving awards to other wealthy, massive people, then they don't matter because it's just them patting themselves on the back for no reason, fluffing themselves up. But when you get a very small outfit getting any kind of award, that can matter because things like awards can be a big deal. For example, the podcasts that won at the Independent Podcast Awards get to network with some big studios, so they can lead to opportunity. And on a tangent, it made me think of the Royal Honours list and how we spoke like 2 years ago about whether or not we would accept one, but since learning about the monarchy and all that stuff and that we're fucking subjects in a kingdom, my opinion changed to no. That's so there are some awards like that are that shouldn't be accepted, but for opportunities for smaller outfits, they can be a good thing to have, but not a massive thing, not to base your worth on what institutions think. Because it's very easy to think we didn't win because we're not good enough in some areas. But then if we try and dictate what we do based on external factors like that, then that's how you're going to go insane, because it's impossible to measure that kind of thing.
Yes, exactly.
But I think it's enough that we want to evolve. We're ambitious and we want to evolve, and then as long as that comes out of us, then I think that's the path forward. But I'm sure we'll talk about that a bit later.
Mm-hmm. Jem, how do you feel about it all?
I think quite similarly, actually, to Matt, and I think that the issue isn't the concept of awards in itself. It's who has the power, as with all of these things. You know, it's who has the power and what they choose to do with that power and who they choose to honour with that power. And I think that we've talked a lot about this concept of, you know, we're not all free until we're all free, and we can't. I think it was Audre Lorde said that, but better. And that is really important thing to hold when we're thinking about these things. And for me, awards are a way to showcase people that have gone above and beyond their what you would ordinarily expect. So I agree, it shouldn't just be about a bunch of wealthy people patting other wealthy people on the back or the head or the arse, to spend it depending on what industry you're in. You know, it should be about supporting people who have, and recognising the struggles that people have had to go through to get to wherever they are. So I think it's not something that's used as well as it could be, but I think something like the Independent Podcast Awards is actually a really positive thing, because they're deliberately looking to people who don't have huge amounts of funding, who don't have a lot of support, and who are basically doing it themselves and offering them greater support and advice and all of that comes, and networking and all of the things that come with that. So I think that's something, that's a way to sort of raise that awareness. And I also hope that by being nominated in the games category, that more people will come across our podcast. And it's the same with like the film industry awards. There's is it the Sunshine?
I think I've heard of it. Yeah.
Oh no, it's going to really annoy me.
I can do some searching.
Anyway, yeah, search it up, Alex, because it's going to really annoy me. Anyway, and that happens every year, and they are really good awards. You know, the films that win that are usually not the blockbusters that are winning the Oscars and the BAFTAs, but they're like smaller, more independent movies that are usually well worth watching. So I think there is a value to awards, but I think it can be used as a force for evil.
Yes. I believe it's called the Sunshine Film Festival, but I could be wrong. But yes, definitely there is something with sunshine attached to films that recognises independent films, which is great to hear as well. I think I am largely in agreement with you both. Awards, I think often award systems are more about who you know than what you know, as it were. In a lot of industries, a lot of time recognition comes through connections you make, which can be a kind of cynical way of looking at it. But often those are a lot of the bigger awards tend to gravitate towards. Also, money is a big factor as well. A lot of the sponsors of award shows can be controversial, some of the larger ones certainly. I know that in the disability world, there's such a thing as the Shaw Trust Disability Power 100, which recognises the 100 most influential disabled people in the UK today, and a lot of that has come under a lot of controversy over the years for who it's highlighting and who it's not highlighting, in that a lot of the time, a lot of the winners are usually white. They're usually not learning disabled. There's like a disability hierarchy there. And usually learning disabled people are at the bottom of the hierarchy compared to people, say, with physical disabilities or other long-term health conditions, who might present in a more normal way or a more acceptable way to like non-disabled society. So there's those issues to contend with as well. I think this year's awards, they decided to live stream them at very short notice because they realised not everybody they'd nominated was actually physically able to attend due to various access barriers. And then they were like, oh, okay, then, well, maybe we will live stream it, even though it's not pandemic times. So they luckily have been able to do that now so that people can watch and engage without having to physically attend, which is a good thing, but they did leave it rather late. So I guess in comparison, those are some recent things that I could bring into the discussion in terms of priorities of people organising awards do not necessarily align with how people feel about the content that the awards is based around, if that's making sense. What motivates them, the awards givers, is very different to what motivates the content creators, as it were. So sometimes those things misalign. But yeah, go on, Matt.
It goes to show that the most marginalised and the people who are less visible, they're always the ones that are left out because it's about the people in charge organising things.
Yes. It's to big them up. It's to say, oh, look, aren't we good handing out all these awards? Isn't that brilliant of us? It's that kind of perspective.
It's so interesting with the disability hierarchy of, they go, oh yeah, we forgot about the people with learning disabilities because none of them are in this room doing it, because in the disability hierarchy we have more privilege than these people. And so that's when it always comes down, even with you've got well-meaning people, it doesn't matter what the awards are, the people in charge, they have to reflect the community that they're trying to present awards to, because they won't understand the just because they get a disabled sticker on their car doesn't mean that they understand the disability of every kind of disability.
No, exactly.
So that's a really interesting point that I hadn't considered.
I think in terms of bringing it back to gaming, there's an awful lot of games out there, as we know, and not all of them are going to get recognised. And there's so many that are independent that are just go unnoticed completely. And I think the interesting thing about like the world that we're living in now is the way that how things can go viral and how that can change everything. It can take one little video, one short on YouTube, say, to go viral, and it changes everything. And it's just interesting to reflect how, like, I guess you could call them like sliding doors moments, how those can change the landscape for independent makers and creators who are out there. And all it takes, sometimes it is just luck. I'm not saying that people who win awards don't work hard and are just lucky. Of course, everyone works hard. But it's just interesting to think about those variables and how they come into play. Now,
what you said a moment ago about the biggest thing, again, it's seizing the means of production.
Yes.
The power that particularly TV and mainly TV stuff, is they were the kingmakers forever. Like Mock the Week, the guy who ran it just didn't think women were funny, and so only booked one woman at a time for the entire time. Whereas now, funny women can just get together with a couple of microphones and take over the world, and that means that those people with the reins of power, they have less power over stuff because there are so many other avenues through which people can get not just notoriety but good money. And then that means that people aren't as bothered about award ceremonies because they find a short of a comedian on TikTok and they go, oh, he's got a podcast. Oh, the podcast is brilliant. I'll sign up to their Patreon. And it's that thing of cutting down. So these awards need to convince us that they matter, that these awards are worth the shine of legitimacy that they try and portray. Like we're the highest level of awards. Well, prove it to us. Show us why. So that's an element where they need to improve. They need to go, or otherwise they're just going to disappear because no one's going to care.
Yeah, that's such a good point about relevancy as well. I think, the world's changing. They're not the gold standard so much as they were in decades past. When you think about how formats have changed and things. And even within the gaming industry, you've got things like E3 doesn't really exist anymore. I believe, as far as I understand it, it's not going to happen again. And that was where everyone came together to showcase their games on this massive platform. And obviously there are gaming conventions that still run, big ones, but it just shows how the landscape is changing. Audiences' needs are changing. The way that audiences access gaming content is changing. So in fact, that changes how gamers and developers need to operate. And the same probably could be said of the podcast industry as well. So it's just interesting to think about from that perspective. Yeah. Oh, sorry, Jem, I think you're muted there. There you go.
Yeah, I was muted. I think that it's a double-edged sword, the fact that people can just get out there and do their own stuff and how the industries work. But I think one of the things that we've talked about all the way through is that lack of diversity causes lack of diversity. And that, and I think that one of the reasons why the Apocalypse Players won the award at the Independent Podcast Award is because the judge who they quoted self-confessed that they didn't know anything about this area.
Which I thought was
I don't know whether they just meant role playing or whether they meant gaming, but let's say that they meant gaming. It does matter to know the area, because then you know what you're looking for, and then you would know that what they were doing isn't unique. I'm not saying they don't do it well, but it's that the judge was sort of like, oh, this is amazing, I've never heard anything like this before, and it blew my mind. But actually they're not doing a unique thing, and so I think not having people who have an understanding of gaming led to that decision, or at least influenced that decision. And I think, we have the same things with not having people of colour or not having disabled people also in the judging process and the judging positions. And that's why, no matter how hard they claim they're trying, the Oscars and the BAFTAs and all of these awards are still failing to have enough women, enough people of colour, enough disabled people winning awards. And it isn't to do with the fact that there aren't enough of them out there. It's because they are lazy and they're not doing the work, and I think that is an issue across the board. But I did want to say that the Golden Joystick Awards happened yesterday.
Very true, yes.
and Baldur's Gate just completely trounced everything.
Absolutely.
I think everyone must have just been like, there is literally no point us going to these awards. No one other than Larian are going to win. And they won apparently a record-breaking 7 awards.
That's
and
loads. They probably
in
didn't
my
sit
opinion,
down
they
for
deserved
about
it.
half an hour. They're just standing up, going up over and over. Wow. Yeah.
I must have run out of things to say, but yeah, I mean, it's extremely well deserved, and I think I hope that what it does is it inspires other organisations, other businesses to just do better, because And then what was really interesting is somebody shared to me, I think I shared it to you guys, all the awards they'd won,
yes.
and Karlak is one of the characters from the game is in there a lot, and she's just awesome. The characters that they have,
they're all so rich, aren't they?
They are.
I mean, I've not got very far.
They have
yeah.
They have such depth, and you just become really attached to them. And my biggest challenge when I'm playing is, who do I leave in camp? Because I just want to take all of them out with me, not because of what they can do in a fight, but because I want to hang out with them. So I think sometimes awards are well deserved and recognise all the hard work that people put in,
and probably reflect popular opinion as well, I expect. Given that we're all very much enjoying Baldur's Gate, we must do a podcast on it at some stage. I think I wanted to talk about the fact that we know what we're doing with this podcast matters to us, because what's most important, I think, is that we enjoy doing it and we enjoy talking about what we're talking about, which we do. We know that we're presenting our authentic experience of what we love, which is gaming, and looking at it through a feminist lens, as we often like to say at the start of every episode, because we know that it's not talked about enough. And if we know that, we're obviously going to keep doing our thing. But in terms of the future of the pod, how do you see us sort of developing and pushing what we're doing to new levels, I guess? Are there things that obviously we know that our content is king? What we're talking about is the thing that matters most. But I guess if we had won the award or receive a large amount of magical funding from somewhere, and the magical ability to do whatever we wanted with the pod, I guess is my question. What would you like to do with it? Matt, I'll start with you.
So I think about this because I have an old habit that I'm trying to break out of constantly moving goalposts where I think, oh, that'll be enough. And I find myself thinking, oh, unless we get 500 Patreon subscribers, I won't be able to be happy until we get that. But then taking a step back and thinking about it in perspective, if we can make enough money to break even, that's a massive triumph. If we make any more money, we can just put that in our Game in the System piggy bank. And then getting to a point. So really, it's if we paid ourselves minimum wage for the amount of work we've done, we'd have thousands of pounds each. But that makes me laugh thinking about. But just being able to invest it in like the tech side of things. So, but for example, we've moved on to Squadcast now. And that's a little bit more expensive, but the quality difference is absolutely off the charts. And I feel like just not stopping. We tweak things and we add things and we test things, but the only thing that matters the most is that we don't stop. That's the thing that 90% of podcasts fail at. They'll go for like 6 months and then they'll peter out. Whereas we, like you say, the conversations, that's the foundation of all of it. And we love doing that. And so just as long as we don't stop, we'll continue to evolve and get better and exciting things.
Indeed, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's spot on, really. And I think everyone says that you should just enjoy what you do and people will come. And I think that it would be lovely if that was true. But unfortunately, we live in a world of bonkers algorithms and organisations that are just trying to make money out of everyone's love. And I think from my personal perspective, I do a huge amount of unpaid labour, a huge amount, and not just in my home, but in life. And I've, been a volunteer and a unpaid supporter in various aspects of things that I am extremely passionate about and believe need to happen, like working with the Women's Equality Party and supporting a friend of mine who's running for as a Green Party candidate locally, and helping out with local school events, local charity events, and even to the point of writing chapters for books for in my academic side of things. None of this is paid. And I feel that if we could just get paid for what we do, not huge amounts, just to acknowledge the amount of time and energy that's put in just to cover that cost, that would be that would be enough, as you were saying, Matt. That would be enough for me, because that would be, and it's not about being rich or having loads of cash and being able to splash out and all of that. That's not what it's about. It's about the fact that in our modern society, in our current society, the value of things is dictated by how much money it is worth. And it's very hard to keep boosting yourself about your own value when everyone is expecting you to do stuff for free.
Yeah.
And people aren't prepared to pay you for it, especially when we live in a world where you've got people who, in my opinion, are doing nothing good for anyone, getting paid ridiculous amounts of money. And, I know we talk about the problems with capitalism all the time, but I do think, it's that imbalance. So I would really like for us to be able to earn enough money that we can at least cover the costs for ourselves of the time that we spend making the pod. But don't worry, I'm going to do it anyway, because I just love doing it. And I love, I do love it. I do love it. And I do it for love. And I would like for us to be able to support, practically support organisations and charities that are working to enable the things that we champion. That would be awesome if we could, cool. if we could, yeah, and just if we could actually be bringing in enough interest and enough audience that we could be helpful to those organisations. That would be awesome.
Yeah. No, definitely. It sounds really corny to say, but I think if we could affect change and make a difference, it would be amazing. That's obviously that can mean a number of different things. But like you say, Jem, you could be working on behalf of charities. It could be even having someone listen to us and feel heard and understood, and that making a difference in their lives. And I guess another thing also is, obviously, we're all enjoying doing the pod. We love doing the pod. I'd like to still maintain that enjoyment. And I think one of the things we do so well as a team is to look after each other's well-being and mental health. And I think that we work with that as like a priority. So to keep going with that and to cut ourselves some slack and to give ourselves time to kind of take it all in and well, this is going to sound like a meditation exercise now, but to be grateful and express gratitude for it, and to give ourselves a break as well, because like you say, it is unpaid. It basically all is unpaid work we're doing in our free time, using our own money to prop it up, and sometimes that takes a lot of mental and physical energy to do, on top of everything else that we're doing in our lives, to keep living the way that we're living and where we are living and all that sort of stuff. So to make sure that side of things is good. If I could guarantee that would be, in a magical way, that would be very helpful. But I think we're doing a damn good job of it. I'd like to be able to do more live shows, because those are very exciting, and to get paid for appearing would be absolutely mind-blowing, but whether that's ever going to happen, who knows. All sorts of different things. I think the exciting thing is that we don't know what's going to happen, and as long as we keep doing it and putting ourselves out there and saying, this is who we are, this is what we care about, and we think you should care too, then who knows where it's going to take us. And I think that's very exciting. That about wraps up this episode, I think, for today, unless anyone has anything else.
I just said one more thing. Yeah. The unpaid labour thing, again, is such a massive feminist issue, because women do that, have been doing that. The foundation of capitalism is women's unpaid work. And I agree completely. There are so many things that in life where tremendous amount of mental, physical and emotional labour is being undertaken, and it's written off as, well, if you're not getting paid to do it, it can't be that hard. If you're not getting paid for it, then it's because it's not very difficult, rather than recognising, if we could pay ourselves a minimum wage for the work we've done, if we could make enough money to, first things go, we'll pay ourselves £5 for half an hour, and then that would be such it's amazing making money for something that you enjoy. And again, it would just be a nice extra to have that. And it's about, again, we support each other, we affirm ourselves, we understand our worth. But it is draining having to do it all internally all the time.
Yes.
So one thing I would like, if we could have those sexy Rode microphones.
Yes.
I think they're called Rode ones. Those, I'd love one of those, or Shure. If we could all get one of those.
Excuse me, I think my
sexy.
microphone's pretty sexy.
Yeah.
It's a bit sexy. But I would love.
For audio listeners, it's black and red, which might help with the sexiness image.
It's a HyperX one.
Very cool. Yes. There we are then.
This is not an advert.
No, there are other microphone
sponsors.
Sellers.
I'd love to be sponsored.
Yeah, sponsors also. Those would be very cool. Anyone out there listening, give us a shout.
I'm sorry, I've got one final thing that just reminded me of. Another problem with establishment awards and stuff like that is that it can influence creators to try and fit into a mould.
Yes.
You think, I'm going to try and do something differently in the hope that these awards people will
take notice.
Recognise it.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's
Very true. Very true, Matt. There we are then. Well, that wraps up today's episode. Thank you for listening. Oh, sorry, Dan. Did you want to say anything else? I did not check. You're all good. Excellent. Well, thank you for listening, everybody, and watching. We've got new content for you every Thursday. And you can find us on all your usual podcast listening and watching places. Please subscribe, please like, please share with anyone you think might enjoy our content, and give us feedback. Let us know what you think, and we'll probably be seeing you very shortly for the lead up to Christmas and Christmassy times if you celebrate. So we'll look forward to that, and we'll see you again soon. Bye.
We hope you enjoyed that episode of Gaming the System. If you want to support us, you can donate to us through our PayPal by sending it to wearegamingthesystem@gmail.com if you want to send us a one-off donation. If you want to donate to us monthly, you can subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/gamingthesystem. Until next time, bye-bye.